Welcome to the Spiritual Lit Germany meet. Each week, we're honored to host powerful speakers from around the world sharing their experience on a step. All of our speakers are recorded and shared through our Spiritual Lit Speakers YouTube channel so the message can reach those who need it. If you're struggling, seeking help, or simply have a question, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can contact us anytime through spirituallit24@gmail.com and we promise to get back to you. And tonight we've invited Cathy B to share her experience for the next 25 minutes on step 12. After that, the meeting will be open for sharing. Back. Cathy, we will give you a sign 5 minutes before the end and put a timer in place so you can see where you're at. And with that, I'll hand the floor over to you.
Thank you for that, Nick. And thank you, Mary, for asking me. And thanks to all of you for being here today, for there being a meeting. I am Cathy. I am a grateful, recovered, but not cured. And not because of the room I'm in, I will say addict and alcoholic, depending on the room I'm in. I am an equal opportunity. If it changes how I feel from the neck up, I'm good to go. Booze was my bookends. Started and ended with it, and whole litany of things in between. Um, for me, and I'll qualify just a little bit, but I'm going to really focus on the solution since I'm here to talk about step 12 today. But just so that you know who I am, where I'm from, I know some of you, so some of you know pieces of this story. I'll try to keep it interesting for you, but so that we can identify. Um, If we have anyone who is new in the room or you're newer to the program, welcome. Welcome home. Welcome to the cocktail party you've always been looking for. This is where the cool kids are. At least that's what I tell myself. My sobriety date is August 13th of 2010. So 15 and a half years and some change, all in a row of continuous sobriety at this point. Haven't felt the need to go out and do a trial run to get another date yet, but I know that YET, you're eligible too. I don't ever say I'm never going to do it again because I don't know. But what I do know is if I show up and I do all the things that y'all tell me to do, and I sit in the middle of the boat, the likelihood that I will stay in the middle of that boat is greater than not. That drink, drug, that substance will stay pushed across the table. I didn't really party a lot till I got to university. I got drunk for the first time when I was 8 years old, but drugs didn't really enter my story until I went away to school. Found I had an enormous capacity to consume lots of things and still stay relatively clear-headed. I never blacked out. Uh, I sometimes pretended that I did because I had done really embarrassing things, and I saw people who had legitimate blackouts. And or I guess with cocaine, or I guess it would be a whiteout, and 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 that seemed like a really convenient thing. So sometimes I pretended like I didn't remember, but I always remembered. Um, Never got my stomach pumped, never got arrested, but I did start bar fights. I did get in a lot of situations that there's no real reason on God's green earth that I'm standing here today. I treated my body like a garbage disposal, like I was a disposable thing because I didn't feel like I mattered. And that's a memory that goes back as far as I can remember. Good parents, nice house. There was no violence in the house. It's not like I hear some stories in the rooms of people who went through unconscionable things, and that wasn't my experience. But I still felt uncomfortable in my skin. I still felt like I didn't belong. And the minute I found drugs and alcohol, I found a way to erase that feeling, to erase that sense that I didn't fit in. For me, it wasn't about that feeling of arriving and feeling comfortable. It was about not feeling anything. It was about anesthetizing myself. It's funny. I have friends who know me now. My resting state is at about Mach 3. I shoot out of bed in the morning like I've been shot out of a cannon. Um, and when I tell people that cocaine is part of my story, their eyes get really wide and they say, "My God, what were you like on coke?" And I think about it and I think I must have been terrifying, you know? Um, and I think back to experiences that I had and yeah, once I got sober, people didn't really realize that I had a drug and alcohol problem, but they did think that I was unpredictable, inconsistent, and often an asshole. So that was kind of how I was in the world when I was using. Um, by 2010, I had just gotten exhausted. I had burned so many things down and so many jobs and friendships and relationships, and my life was like one of those old town, like the Western towns in the movies where you have like the fronts of the stores, but if you go around the back, you can see that it's just the facades. It's a movie set. It's not real. Like that's what my life was like toward the end. I was so busy propping myself up, pretending. So many lies that I couldn't even remember which lie was attached to which. So I would just disappear from relationships, just not show up for groups of friends. And I would just, resurface somewhere else and build something new again. And it was getting so exhausting. And a friend of mine was celebrating 18 years and she posted it on Facebook. And I happened to see the post. And I don't know why that day, I don't know why that person that day in that moment that I reached out to her privately and said the three words that all of us need to get to in order for there to be a possibility of solution. And the words were, "I need help." I didn't even know what kind of help I needed. I didn't know what the solution was. I had been to an AA meeting in 2005. I kind of had an idea that far back that maybe it was a problem that I was, going out till 3 in the morning on weekdays and getting high and all of these things. And so I had gone to a meeting and only heard the differences, was given a 12 and 12 in a big book, and went out for 5 more years of research. But on this day in July of 2010, when I saw that Facebook post, I reached out to my friend and asked her for help. And she reached her hand back out, as we do in this program. And she guided me to, go to a meeting and pick up some books and went to the meeting and heard awful stories and went home and got high. That was my response to the meetings. I would go to the meeting, I'd go home and get drunk. And then she came and visited me. It was about 3 weeks later. And that's took us to August. And we went to a dinner party. And by this point I had put all the drugs down, but I was drinking a lot. And I went to a dinner party with her and decided to have a couple glasses of wine. Only two, because if I drank more than that, she might tell me to stop that also. Something told me the jig was up. We go out to the car as we're driving home, and she was really quiet. The kind of quiet where you can hear someone thinking. She's just kind of staring out the window. And I said, "Hey, what's going on?" And she said, I have a couple of things I'd like to share, some suggestions I'd like to offer if you're open to them." Okay. She said, "Look, you've identified that you are stuck in your life. You've identified that you have a problem with drugs. If you want to get sober, sober with a capital S, and you really want to recover, you need to stop drinking too. Maybe you don't have a problem with booze, but you're not going to know unless you try." I scoffed at her. I love the words. I kind of harumphed. I said, "No problem." She said, "Don't drink for a year and let's see. Let's go to an AA meeting tomorrow." So we actually went to an AA meeting the next day, and that began my journey. That began my journey to getting sober. Um, I got a sponsor. I started working the steps. And here's what I can tell you at 15 years and some change of sobriety. It is possible to be in the front row of the program, to be sponsoring, and to be having commitments and going to meetings and doing all of the things, and to be sick AF right in the middle of the herd, to be in self will, to be in self righteousness, and to just not pick up. because that's been my story. And for the last year and a half, I have been finally scraping away that outer layer of resistance, of arrogance, of thinking I know better. I have a sponsor who does not suffer fools. And she very lovingly, but without any tolerance of bullshit, calls me on my self righteousness, guides me to ask for support, to realize that maybe I don't know the answers. And that's a lot about steps 4, 5, and 6 and 7. And I'm not going to go through all of those today. But when I get to step 12, I get there because I've gone through step 1. I've admitted I'm powerless. I've admitted that I'm powerless. People, places, things, and any substance I put into my body. I've come to believe that there's a higher power that maybe I can start to do business with, that maybe I can start getting back onto the path. Step 3, I start forging that relationship, start building that relationship with a higher power. I'm not struck into my spiritual experience at that point. That's not my story, but I'm building the relationship. And like building any relationship, it takes time. Thankfully, I've got a bunch of other steps to go through that help me navigate my way down that path. Then I get to step 4, inventory. Each time I've done one, it's gotten a little bit deeper, a little bit richer, a little more honest. I'm as honest as I can be at any point in time when I do my inventory. I get to step 5 and I let it all hang out. I talk to God. I talk to my sponsor. I release that. And then that beautiful, the teeter totter, the fulcrum of the program, 6 and 7. So steps 1 through 5, I'm cleaning myself out. I'm getting clear on my issues. And then I get to step 6 and 7, where I get to humbly ask for these things to be taken and actually hand them over. And step 8 and 9, where I start cleaning up the mess that I've made in my life, the people that I've hurt, the people I've lied to, lots of those people in my life. Step 10, spot check inventory. That's fun. In the moment, being clear at the end of the day, actually sitting down and doing my inventory. Doing the steps the way they are outlined in the book, that I need to do this. I need to do my step 10 daily like I brush my teeth, like I make my bed when I get up in the morning, like I'm running a very busy retail store with products on the shelves. I've got to be doing inventory all the time, making sure that the inventory is sound for the business of my recovery to be sound. I love step 11. I love the whole prayer and meditation process. I love getting still. I used to hate it. My sponsor told me to start meditating. I said, I can't sit still for 5 minutes. She said, great, then meditate for 15. I've heard that said, if you can't meditate for 15 minutes, meditate for an hour. I understand what that means now. It means just getting still. And then that brings me to step 12, which is that's where the rubber meets the road. And there are parts to it. So, having had a spiritual awakening as the result of the steps, not a result, as the result of the steps, that I will get to a spiritual awakening if I go through these steps the way they are outlined with the guidance of my sponsor, that somewhere in that trajectory, my spiritual awakening will come. For some people, it comes right out of the gate. For other people, it's around steps 4 and 5. For some people, it's when they make their first amends, their first really substantive amends. Or then there's sometimes slowly people like me who have to go through the steps a couple of times to really start to have that experience. But it comes. If I do the work, that spiritual awakening comes. Then it says, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics. That means I'm going to do my best. because I carry the message. I don't carry the alcoholic or the addict. All I'm responsible for doing is sharing my experience, strength, and hope. That's it. I'm not responsible for carrying other people's stuff. I'm not responsible for other people's recovery. I say this to my sponsees all the time. I am not going to chase you down. I cannot want their recovery more than they do. I will pull out the toolbox. I will open it up. I will pull out all the tools and I will go all day long showing how I've used each of them, providing support. But I cannot put the tools in someone else's hands. I can't. I can't make someone recover. I can't make someone do the work. And that's the heartbreaking part of this program is that some people don't get there. Some people take a little longer. I've been to way too many funerals. Been to way too many funerals. Funerals of people who didn't have to leave us but did. The autopsies didn't read that they died of addiction. Sometimes it's blunt force trauma to the head. Sometimes it's a car wreck. Sometimes it's drowning. Sometimes it's asphyxiation. But it's driven by the disease. If this is a disease, no joke, wants me dead. Wants me taken out. And so staying in the middle of that and staying in that solution with others is so important. When someone's drowning, I don't dive in the water with them. I'll throw them a life preserver. I will give them all manners of things to hold on to, but they get to hold on to it themselves. So I try to carry this message the best that I can by sharing my experience, strength, and hope and not telling other people what they need to do. I try to be really sensitive to that as well. And I'm, sharing in a meeting. I don't say you have to or we need to. Like, I can only talk about me. I don't know what your experience is. And all of our stories are different. And that's okay. Same 12 steps, same process. And we all have a different experience. We are not all in the same boat. I don't think. We're in the same storm for sure. But each of our boats it's like a life raft that's come off of something. We each have our own little life raft that we're on, and we can lash them together. I can lash mine with yours, and we can lash them all together so that we have a greater mass of floating together that we can stabilize each other. But I don't know what your experience is. I don't presume to know. And then there's this last bit that I love, which is, and to practice these principles in all our affairs. All. That means when I'm at the grocery store. The other day, I pulled into the parking lot. We have a grocery store chain here in the United States called Trader Joe's. It's fabulous. It's fun, and the staff is really fun. And, they've got really good products and really good produce. And, for a national chain, it's really good quality stuff. And I can always tell what it's going to be like in the store by how people treat each other in the parking lot. And it was a goat rodeo. It was insane. People are backing out without looking if there's something there, and there's people pushing carts, and just everyone was completely oblivious and unaware of anyone else around them. And instead of forcing myself into a parking spot right close to the store, I thought, you know what? I'm going to go to the other end of the parking lot. I'll have to walk a little further. That's fine. Not a big deal. But I get to stay centered today. I get to be the eye of the hurricane. I get to be the eye of the hurricane. I'm going to walk through this store. I'm going to have a good time in the market. I'm going to get what I need. And I'm going to see if I can maybe help somebody today. They play great music in the store. And I was, standing in front of the bread, just deciding. And I'm just kind of bopping, dancing a little as I'm figuring out, do I want sourdough? Do I want rye? Like, what's going on? Maybe pretzel buns. What's happening here? And I just was grooving. And out of the corner of my eye, I see there's a woman who caught me out of the corner of her eye, and she starts dancing. And the two of us have this little dance party in the bread aisle in the supermarket. And she looked at me and she said, I needed that. Thank you. I said, you're welcome. We went on our way. It's the program that taught me to do things like that, taught me to be the calm in the storm, because I am not the calm in the storm. I am the storm. I am a category 5 fucking hurricane. And when I'm having a bad day, you'll know. Because if I'm having a bad day, I want you to have a bad day because I don't want to have a bad day by myself. That's my resting state. And what all of you have taught me, what this program has taught me, is that that's coming from a place of ego, of self, of selfishness, of fear. And the thing that's underneath it is, I'm not worthy. I'm not enough, which is so not true. Today, I know I'm awesome. I'm a fucking delight. And I love myself today. That's a miracle. This is a girl who got to a point not that long ago where I wasn't going to use drugs and I wasn't going to drink and I was in a lot of pain. And I thought maybe the best solution was to remove myself from this planet because no one will miss me if I'm gone, because I'm a waste of space. Thankfully, a higher power put a friend in my life who hadn't heard from me in a couple of days, and she blew up my phone. And then she called my brother and said, I'm worried about Cathy. And my brother called my landlord, who drove by my house and said, the lights are on in the house and the car is there and I see movement. And my brother said, I'm getting on a plane. And then my phone rang again. And for some reason, I answered it. And my friend Wendy said, your brother's about to get on a plane. He's on his way. Because we know that you're not all right. That's not me. That's a higher power who knows that I sometimes need a little more help than others. And to have a friend say, you can call me. And for me to be able to say to her, I intellectually know that, but there's something that gets in the way. What I know now is that thing that gets in the way is the very thing that keeps me from building relationships in this program. Holding everybody at arm's length, not really letting people in because I'm afraid you're not going to like me. I'm afraid I'm not enough or that I'm too much, but I'm never just right. But when I apply these principles in all my affairs and I realize that my first place to go for help is something bigger than I am. And whether you call it God, whether you pray to Jesus, whether you pray to Allah, whether you pray to Buddha, whether you have another higher power of an entirely different form, doesn't matter. Just knowing that there is some greater something out there that I'm doing business with on a daily basis now. That everything I have, I have what I need. My needs will always be met. And when I don't know what to do and when I'm feeling uncomfortable, because my life is a little bit challenging at the moment in a lot of ways, but what I know is when I am in that space, I get called to speak at meetings. I get people who say, will you sponsor me? I get friends in the program who call me. I lean into my program now. When I get uncomfortable now I call people. I say yes to speaking at a meeting. I say yes to sponsoring. I say yes to my recovery. And the 12th step is the place that I do that in all of my affairs. AA, CA, my recovery is the center of my life today so that I can go into the world and be a useful tool in God's toolbox. And I'll leave it there.
Wow, thank you, Cathy. I'm gonna ask everybody to come in and unmute themselves and thank Cathy for this beautiful share.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cathy.
Thanks, Cathy.
Thank you, Cathy.
Thanks, Cathy. Thank
Cool.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cathy. Thank you.
Wow, that was a beautiful share, Cathy. Thank you so much. You brought some depth and weight here, and it's also good to know that, you know, what you shared in the end, we can struggle even when we're sober, especially when we are sober. Sometimes we think we cannot ask for help or, you know, don't want to bother other people, but, you know, sometimes we just need that extra nudge. So, you know, to know that people are out there caring for us. And when you were sharing about feeling like being a waste of space, I think that for me, the thing that prevents me from feeling like that is actually being useful through this program to other people. And also it extends to beyond the program, but the program is where I get to practice that and I can bring it out into other areas in my life. But the program is a safe space for me to practice this and to be, you know, my dark past is the greatest asset in here, right? And that's where I can start, you know, and practice and learn so much tools for life, basically how to deal with life, to learn about people. And you know, I think we get great psychology lessons here being sponsors and and just talking and listening to other people. And I think the listening is also very important. So I had a great time listening to you tonight, and thank you again for making time on such a short notice. And yeah, I'm gonna open it up for anybody out there, but